Dan, what did you sort of make of that performance? Adelaide really put you under pressure for 4 quarters, and how did you sort of see that go?
Yeah, it was a really tough game from the very first whistle to the final whistle, and I think we just spent the game trying to find a way, trying to get into a little bit of rhythm and trying to bring to life the game plan. And, full credit to the Thunderbirds, they made life really, really tough for us. And we had moments where we were able to surge and get a little bit of control, but they were fleeting. And it was really just a grind goal-for-goal battle that we had to lean into at the end of it. And glad that we got on the right side of the scoreboard, but it was pretty hairy and scary there at the end. But we'll take the points.
Some uncharacteristic mistakes at times. Was that their pressure, or was that just an off night?
Yeah, I think a bit of both. I think certainly the best defensive lineup we've come up against, obviously from an attacking perspective, they are the best in the league at what they do in that regard, and they certainly can match our athleticism in certain parts. So we had to keep trying to find the solutions to that, and also probably not really attacking the way we want to play early. I thought we probably played into their hands a little bit too often and maybe shied away from taking them on as we had spoken about wanting to do. And once we got in the game, I thought Jordan was sensational at really taking on the depth and getting to that circle edge. And once we're able to do that, we're able to get in a bit more flow and connection. But it was just a grind. It was tough, but we certainly welcomed that level of contest.
Are you slightly concerned, though, they might have given other teams the blueprint on how to beat you?
Oh, not necessarily. I think every team's going to have a different perspective of where they want to target every opposition. And, I think we've got players and depth in our squad where we can change and counteract if we need to. So Shamira Sterling is the best goalkeeper in the world. Latanya Wilson is one of the best, if not the best, wing defence in the world. And they challenged us. Like, they're good at what they do. And we had to find a way, and I thought we did in the end. So we'll just take a lot of learnings out of this one to put into place, not only next week when we play again, but also next time when we see them, because they were the only team that we didn't see in pre-season. So it was much about feeling out the game as it was trying to come up with a game plan that was going to work against them. So huge learnings out of today, but just great to grind out a pressurised win when we were under the pump for most of it.
Jordan, it looked intense out there. Was it like working in a phone box at times?
Yeah, I think we always knew that this game was going to be a really good one, and their defence is outstanding, and I think they really put the pressure on us in attack, especially early, and it was just a grind for the whole 60 minutes, and I'm really, really glad that we got on the good end of it, and we'll see them in 2 weeks again, so hopefully we can go better again.
Dan, career best game from Katie-Anne Dehaney as well as Jordan. You've already spoken about Jordan. Can you just talk to us about Dehaney's game, please?
Yeah, I thought she was awesome, a real rock for us, an anchor at the back line, and it was a great match-up for Katie-Anne to play the tools. She was great against Danelle last week, and I thought just backed it up against Romelda this weekend. But I thought every time we're under enormous pressure, she just found ball for us, and I think it was, the signs of a great goalkeeper is when you need something, you find something, and I thought she did that exceptionally well, and just her ability to stay focused and stay persistent when they were scoring freely at times I thought was unbelievable. And, she's really thriving in our environment, and I love that she's doing the right things at the right time, and she's a big game player. She's really coming into her own in this team, and I was really pleased to see her have a cracking performance today.
And Jordan, how do you prepare to come off the bench and then take on probably the world's best wing defence in Laddie Wilson?
Yeah, I think it's just knowing my own strengths, and I think we practice a lot in training, and I'm against such amazing defenders at training, so just knowing that what strengths I bring and what I can do to challenge her as well as what she does to challenge me. So really locking into that and just knowing that as good as she is, I can also take that on and challenge her in different ways, and I thought I was able to do that today.
And Dan, this is probably the first time you've been seriously challenged this season. How does it set you up for the next half?
I think it's critically important because whilst our training environment is pretty ferocious, we play against the men every week, and probably we have matches like that all the time whenever we're having a bit of a scrimmage session on a Thursday night. So we're not unfamiliar with that, obviously, as a new team, but competition pressure is different. 9,500 people screaming is different. So just getting a little bit more familiar with that, I think, is a really important experience for us as a new group. We're only 6 weeks old, playing under competition pressure. So we really did have a discussion before the game around embracing that. If it's goal for goal, let's lean into it and go for it, because that's where you actually learn where your game is truly at, as opposed to winning by 20 plus like we have over the past couple of weeks. So we know where we are. We know where we need to keep getting better too, obviously. And I think today was really valuable for us in the big picture.
Yeah. What did you learn, I guess, in those pressure moments when it was tight? For you, what was the learning from you coming out of that?
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just having trust in our ability to lock in those moments, and I think there was probably a few moments in the last 2 minutes that we may have thrown it away or sort of not had our focus and sort of had lapses in focus. And I think knowing that we have the ability to push a game out and just being able to keep that going for the full 15 and not having those lapses in focus. And I think especially for me, sort of being my first year, just being able to play in that pressure environment and those moments and practicing that moment again and again and just getting that experience in and hoping that it just gets better and better and I get more composed as we go.
Dan, probably the first time that Shanice has been under pressure. She was really, covered well and shut down at times by Garrett. What's, I guess, the learning for her going forward in growing her game and make sure that doesn't happen? Because Joe Weston will no doubt have watched this game and be looking to do something similar.
Yeah, I actually thought Shanice was a real rock for us while we were changing the mid-court combinations, and Janelle was having a bit of a struggle against Shamira, and I thought Shanice was actually the constant for us, and she had Garrett on her, then she had Wilson, back to Garrett, back to Wilson, and I think the Thunderbirds were certainly respecting what she was doing, because when we did have our surges, it was Shanice that was really integral to that. And I just thought her work rate to stay in the contest, and there were times where she got in some uncomfortable positions and had to figure it out for herself. And this whole season for Shanice was about learning, and I thought whilst she was under pressure the whole time, when she needed to step up, she certainly did for us. So I was pleased for her in a tough match.
Do you think it was distracting at times, the pump-up, talking about the Jamaican matchups? I mean, out of Katie Ann Dehaney and Romelda Aiken-George, I think they were probably the matchup that really came to life during the match. Do you think we probably focused a little bit too much on what was happening down the other end of the court?
Yeah, well, I think if you look at, Shamira and Janelle, they're the superstars, right? But the battle down the other end, as you said, was just as enthralling, and it was probably Katie Ann's winning of ball at crucial moments against Romelda that actually gave us that 2-3-4 goal buffer in the last quarter. So, maybe we focused a little bit too much on the big guns and forgot the ones down the other end. But, great moment for Katie Ann for sure.
Dan, I think that might have been the first time Alice has come from the court. I know the first time was the blood, but then later on she came off. Was that just a matchups thing for her this time, not a form thing? She's obviously been fantastic in the opening 5 games. Yeah,
it was a matchup for sure. I thought that Latanya's got a great ability to cover every wing attack in the world, apart from Jordan at times today, where, I think speed's the way you got to beat Latanya. It's if you play a little bit more of a strength game, or your game's based a little bit more around timing like Alice's is, Latanya can cover it, and she's probably the most athletic wing defence in the game at the moment. So you got to respect that. And although I thought Alice had some great moments when she come back into the game and just kind of processed what she had to adjust in her game, I thought the contrast of speed that Jordan offered us in wing attack opened up our front line. So it's great that we have that variation, and we needed it today. So it was certainly something that we had to tap into.
And final one from me. I just want your thoughts on some of the tactics the Thunderbirds used in terms of when there were penalties and a bit of time wasting. They got penalised for that, but it was a common theme. Is that something you'd like to maybe go to the league about, or like to see stamped out of the game? Because it allowed them to set up front of court and really choke the defensive effort.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a fine line. I think there were times where we could have just taken the ball and gone, and we couldn't hear what the call was, so we're waiting for clarification, those types of things. And I think definitely the delay of setting a penalty certainly is in the advantage of the defensive unit to get into structure. And we obviously like to play the game at a high tempo. So we'll have a look at that and see if there's anything that we want to reflect on. But at the end of the day, it didn't impact our result. We'll take the premiership points and all the learnings we need to take out of tonight's game, knowing that we probably were nowhere near our best today, but still found a way. And that's what's most pleasing.